Hello, we are Guns N' Roses today.
Radu, wrong gig.
Okay, not Guns. Okay, we're Deadlime Games right now, so we've rebranded our company called Capsule Studios to this. Today, my colleague.
I'm Daniel Flamaropol. I think I know most of you. I do a lot of tech stuff. I think, our tech lead. And this is my dear friend and colleague, Radu Ziemba.
Yeah, and I'm doing business and game design for the company. Cool. So a few titles that we worked on. The main focus of today will be Battle Golf Online. For those who don't know it, let's play the trailer. Okay, so Battle Golf Online is a real-time multiplayer golf game where you basically have to outrun your opponent to 5 in scoring inside the platforms. The game was globally featured by Apple with a banner. We are really proud that we've been near Angry Birds when we were featured and we had a banner up also. It got around 1.5 million downloads. Uh, the time frame of what we did with the game is that we started around 2015 with the first Battle Golf that looks something like this.
Yeah, no, my golf skills really helps in this one. Yeah, I got one.
What? You did it?
Yeah. Well, it's like first to 3 or something. I don't know. No, no, no.
Yes!
What?
Yeah, so the first Battle Golf was already a success. We got some attention from PewDiePie. We said thanks, but nobody answered. So he picked the game, and thank you, PewDiePie, once again. And we were really surprised that everybody inside the comments were asking for real-time multiplayer and the ability to play with other players. So we started creating this. Yeah.
All right, so four things that were really important. We wanted to make the second game was a better game experience, a quirkier experience, and with a focus on online gameplay, because people have been asking for online gameplay for a long time. We wanted to do it right. We wanted to do frequent updates, and we wanted to have multiple game modes, because that's what the first game lacked, and we were losing players because of it. We started with two strong games that we made but never got to actually launch. The first one is Amber, a quest in Torch Valley. This got on Steam and it was greenlit. It has a very, very strong Unity engine that we use to this day. And the second one was an IO game called Snake Maze. So we had the SmartFox server that we used on Snake Maze and the code base for Amber. So we thought we were really set. Amber was a very quirky, cute game that wanted to be on Steam, but finally wasn't. And we had a bunch of modules in that engine that we still use today, like I told you. So we had confidence that our code base was strong on the Unity part. And on the server side, we had this. And people loved this, actually. We never got to launch it because our client changed their minds. But this was a very strong online experience with 40+ players in one room, no issues whatsoever, instant gameplay, but it was on browser and on PC. So I'm gonna let Radu talk more about the game experience we wanted to do.
Yep. So we always wanted to stand out with our design for characters. So we went for a flat, quirky, fun design that everybody seems to be really familiar and cozy about how the characters look. We then tried, and we skipped this part. We wanted to have characters as cards that were collectibles, but in the end it was a golf game, so we tried to not go in the abstract zone and try to be in a more realistic. So we made the characters look more human than pirates, zombies, and stuff we had in the first idea. And so for customization, in the end, we ended up with having a lot of hats, and we had around 150 hats, if I remember right, and only 8 characters that weren't very special. Uh, Another really important thing for us were the platform design, because we wanted to have something that feels like an actual golf course. So we had 4 platforms that are really close to what you can find on golf. Then there's the surprise where there's submarines, Loch Ness Monster, and after that even more stranger platforms like a tree, a ship that goes up. And I'm gonna let Daniel talk about the next
All
part.
right, so we had confidence that we could do that, especially because from Amber, a quest in Torch Valley, we had everything was server side, so we could modify stuff like friction, physics, AI, everything was server side. So based on that character design and our idea and our previous code base, we thought we were ready to do an online multiplayer game and do it well. And this was our promise to our users. So real-time, multiplayer, cross-platform, all over the world. Frankly, we never did this before. And based on our experience with Snake Maze, we thought our issues were going to be leaderboards. We thought we were going to have hackers. We thought we were going to have lag. And we actually thought the server would not balance well. We thought it would crash, and we prepared for that. We were really, really wrong. We used player.io for our servers, and it's brilliant. It just works out of the box. Nothing ever broke on that server. 100% reliability. What actually broke was that we were using Unity, and Unity has a lot of issues with synchronizations. So we had non-deterministic physics on various devices, mobile, PC, both types of mobiles, iOS and Android, which is on a wide array of devices.
Also web, if you remember. We also launched.
Web, yeah. So we had 4 platforms at launch, and all of them got started to desync and disconnect, and the physics is an actual huge issue, as I will show you. So first of all, who in here has technical background? Okay, I can't see anything, but I'm gonna try to guess. It's about, yeah, I see 2 hands.
Everybody.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pass really quickly through this one then. So really early in the development process, we went back to one of the main things I learned in college, I think in my 3rd year, how to sync a client and a server to make sure that an action happens at the same time. We have different starting points on the client and on the server, and then we compute the time it takes for an actual message to be passed. And we think that will be like the average time a message will travel from client to server. We sync based on that, and then when a client presses an actual button and you want the server to know when that will happen, you schedule it in the future. And you kind of assume that the server is gonna get that message before the action actually happens, because if it doesn't, if the server gets this after the action happened, you are going to get a desync, right? So the server gets the message here, then it passes it to the other client, which is another game instance, and then hopefully both actions will happen at the same time on both devices. So we try to do this, and this actually works very good. This works well. We made it. It works. The reason we needed to do it was because at the time we had no money and no inclination to do a server that had all of the physics done there. So in our case, we are using the middle ground here, which is both clients compute physics on their own, and they tend to just believe what they're doing. So for example, in peer-to-peer, you would have one of the clients be like a server thingy, and the other client would believe that and would use that. We're not doing that. If the server were to be trusted, everything is done on the server, and both clients believe that. In our case, actually, both players can win. So if you think you won, the other guy can think he won, and that's it. That's fine. We had to do that because we had no money for an authoritative server, and anyway, doing that on mobile incurs a high payload, like sending physics messages all the time from client to server, and we really didn't want that. So, barring that, why did we still have desyncs? Why did people actually see different results? Like, I see I'm winning, you see you're winning. What went wrong? So unfortunately, Unity is based on a non-deterministic physics engine. So this means that If you run it on 2 different devices and have the exact same setup, and you apply the same force to the same object with the same mass, it may go in a different direction, it may land in a different place. So this actually happens, and I know it does because I tested it. We had a simulation going on all the computers at the office and on Android machines, and 1 out of like 100 tries, one ball landed in a different place. We had the server just thinking that, and the server was getting different results for the same premises, and that's horrible to have in a physics game. So this actually happens. From once in a while, the ball goes to the green path and then the red path for the same input. So what this means is that our nightmare, our absolute nightmare, and the reason for player desynchronization were mid-air collisions. So if 2 balls collide in mid-air, the angle at which they do so, even if it varies in a minute amount, can influence them terribly. So for example, in case A, this ball goes that way and you don't care about it, but this ball enters the hole. In case B, both balls are silently dumped into the water. So yeah, that happened. That happened a lot, and it's cumulative. So for example, if at first it's 0 to 0, 0-0, then it's 1-0, and I'm still seeing 0 to 0-0. Like 2 minutes after, he may be winning 5-1. I'm seeing 2-3. That actually happened. It happened a lot. So what were our solutions? What were our solutions to this? Did we allow both players to win or lose at the same time? Did we disconnect them? At one time, we tried, let's just disconnect them. If they desync, we'll disconnect them. Or did we insert an AI if it desyncs to make sure that everyone is playing fairly? And for disconnect, because that happens all the time. Mobile devices go into a tunnel, they lose connection, whatever. Do we show them a connection error pop-up? Do people want to see that? Do we blame the other guy? Like, the other guy has left the match. Or do we play with an AI seamlessly, just going forward? You might have guessed, we did this. So usually, we blame the other guy. So one of our guys in the office had a brilliant idea, replace that pop-up and say, your opponent has disconnected, not you, the other guy. That reduced the flag we got to almost 0. And then, of course, we had a very, very friendly AI that would replace people who were desynced, who had lost connection. And that AI was supposed to mimic that user. So we were trying to see how that user was playing, and then insert an AI that would play the same. So if you were steamrolling someone, it's like 4-0, we would not get an AI in that would beat the hell out of you, you know? It would continue to get steamrolled. On the other hand, if you were being steamrolled, the AI would be really, really good. And we had 3 KPIs to do that, and after this I'm gonna let Radu take over. We had brutality, skill, and stamina. Brutality means if you attack the other player more than you want to put the ball in. Skill is how well you want to play, and stamina is, well, you could just get tired after 10 shots, and that's it.
Yeah, also don't worry if you don't understand the physics parts. I never understand him and his tech stuff, so it's to this day it's been 3 years, and when he's telling me those diagrams I don't understand much, but it's okay. So the thing is that we wanted this AI, and because of the platform design, we encountered some really interesting things, like the bot was calculating the exact trajectory till the hole, and that was a perfect shot. So we didn't leave him to have perfect shots, but we added ranges to his shots. So in most cases, if you hit the ball here, that's a bad shot. But if you hit the ball here, it's a good shot. So basically, if the bot was bad, he was good in playing, and that happened on a lot of platforms. Here, for example, if the bot was trying to throw the ball directly here, he would have ended here, and the ball would have gone here and then go inside the hole. That was a good shot. If he was trying to go for here, he would probably have missed. And on other platforms, like here, it's really hard to calculate the exact trajectory because he was trying to go for the hole. So on this platform, I think the AI misses like all the time. But it's okay, since it gives you some fun time with you beating him on this hole. On this platform, on the other hand, I think the bot and his best choice was to hit around here, but that almost never happened. And actually, we had to let him go for a perfect shot here to be able to go inside the hole.
Radu, I think we started our presentation with a question. How did hitting golfers in the head solve our problems?
Okay, let's go there. Okay, so basically, Daniel was coming to me with all those physics stuffs and stuff about multiplayer not being able to work and said, you need to find a solution to solve the multiplayer thing. So we started thinking, okay, how can we stretch out the design to fit the multiplayer needs? So we started thinking and we found some interesting solutions. Like we added a stun mechanic where you were throwing the ball inside the opponent's head and you got some time where the game would sync. So that was like a 3-second stun, and then the other guy could have shot the ball inside the hole, and no mid-air collisions would have happened. We added those platforms, if you remember, the tall ones, so there weren't no mid-air collisions. They were really tall, they won't hit each other. We added an input delay for when we're touching, so there was some time to sync. And we did that amazing thing where both players could have won the game. And it's interesting, if you look at analytics, we have 80% of all the matches are won, so everybody's happy. Basically, only 20% of the players lose a match, so that's really good for the player. Okay, so
We could stop for questions here if you have them. Keep in mind we're kind of blind here, so you may just want to yell instead of raising your hands.
any questions so far? Okay. Blind?
1 second.
Yeah, don't worry.
Hi. Interesting workarounds. I was wondering, I'm not familiar with the gameplay, and I don't know if winning works in an economy of the game or anything, but I guess what I'm getting at, was there a knock-on effect that you had to fix afterwards, since the majority of your players were winning? Did you have to work with the leaderboards a little bit, or hide that information, or how did you handle that?
So we had a game mode which was called Play a Friend, and you could invite someone to play with. On that mode, desync means a disconnect, because we can't allow people to play each other, and it's like I won and you won. So please don't tell our players we do that, because we only do that in unranked matches. So we didn't want to get anyone angry about that.
Hi. You said you had multiple game modes?
Yeah.
Did the multiple game modes mean multiple platforms, like the tall one and tree one, or did you have different play dynamic?
So we had 5 game modes, if I remember. It's quite interesting because we can continue. It's not a stop for questions. So the first thing we did, did some game updates because players were getting bored about the gameplay. That were only 2 game modes at start. So in the first update, we added 4 new platforms, new hats, and fixed some bugs because there were plenty of them. The second update actually was a really bad one for us because it took us 6 months to make, and that what happened is that we lost a lot of our initial players from the Apple boost. So in that game mode, we added play versus a friend. You could have played against AI, local multiplayer, time attack, online headshot, because at some point people were bored about playing the game normally, and they were always shooting the ball towards the head. So we said, okay, let's give them a mode where you score when you hit the guy in the head. And that was a big switch for us, because everybody was playing that mode instead of the normal mode. We added tournaments, we added multiplayer, another game mode where you see 2 platforms and you have to time attack each other. So there were plenty of game modes, but it lasted like 6 months, so that's really bad. You can say about how we thought about our pillars in the end.
Yeah, well, there are some stuff we did right. Well, we were featured after all. So with the game experience was what we wanted to offer. We love the game. Right now, we would play it right now. We love our game, so that means something. Not many people love their games after they're done. Online gameplay is fun. It's really, really fun, and it's very fluid. And I think we had about 3,000 concomitant
Concurrent users.
matches at the same time, so about 6,000, I think. And we had about 80% of our players just choosing their hats. At any one time, 80% of our players would be choosing hats. That's it. So customizing their character. So the gameplay was fun. The game modes were fun. People loved them, especially that time attack thingy Radu was telling about. So you had like 60 seconds. How many balls can you score in 60 seconds? That was fun. The frequent updates, we really lost them on this one. So if we would just continue to outpour short, tiny updates with one game mode, maybe one more ball, one more character.
One game mode per 2 weeks would have been better than putting all those chunks of gameplay in after 6 months where there was like nobody playing the game anymore.
So our mistake on the tech side was that we didn't branch. So we kept getting more content in the game, and we had to test it and test it again and again. It was getting bigger and bigger, and at any one time we couldn't launch because we had a good feature which we tested and 2 or 3 unbaked features which had errors in them. So we couldn't launch that build. We had to fix them, and then we got more content and more content. So our advice, I think, based on our current game and on this game, is update as fast as you can, to avoid having a build with a huge array of features that you have no time to test, and once it goes live, it's full of bugs, because they always are.
Yeah, and we can go back to other questions now. That was a surprise part of our talk, so extra.